Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to today's Reddit Quickie from the subreddit HFY, called Billy Bob Space Trucker, Chapter 10. Written by Rigo, Legal. The link to the original will be down below. And, as always, I hope that you enjoy. Cast leader Cleroy was shifting through the reports when juvenile Gresh clicked his forelimbs upon entering the surface to ask permission to enter. Cleroy stomped his hind limbs to indicate permission. The juvenile quickly stepped in with what a data snake in his hand as he handed it to Cleroy. Cast leader, there is the situation. I think our surveillance equipment on Black Market Section 32 has been compromised. Cleroy nodded as this was said and set the report down before reading it. Yes, the station with the Veshkesh assaulted. Has traffic resumed so that we can move in and retrieve the recordings? Where are they gone? No cast leader appears to be functioning, but I suspect that they have been broadcasting a clever ruse to make us worry without need. An attempt to get inside our antennae, as it were. Cast leader Cleroy let his mandibles inch higher, as the usual, to indicate curiosity. What makes you think this? Is it a very elaborate recording? No doubt, but it is simply too absurd for any grey shells to believe. Yes, but what is on it that would make you say this? Perhaps it is best for you to watch it yourself, cast leader. Cleroy picked up the data slate and skittered around his desk, with Gresh in his lead, and skittered down to the main surveillance monitoring room, where most of the juveniles were clustered around a console. Cleroy clicked his forelimbs together, and they quickly dispersed back with their own consoles. A Vikesh salt is nothing that we haven't seen before. He chided the juveniles, who were quietly talking amongst themselves instead of listening to him, which was unusual. He leaned in, settling on his hind limbs before the console. Gresh quickly found the monitor that he wanted Cleroy to watch. I've pieced together what the others think happened, but you will see that they're wrong when you watch it. Cleroy saw that the barbaric ship that he had spoken to B-Robbo about, and noticed the compact, ugly creature that emerged. Then his mandibles ticked in anger as he noticed the diplomat and their ancestral enemies emerge as well. Then this was one the B-Robbo wanted. He saw as they approached the squad of Vikesh and settled back in. Most likely they killed the ugly thing, and then B-Robbo had nothing to worry about. Then his four eyes widened as he watched that single creature knock down the Vikesh squad. This was impossible. Gresh started to talk, but Cleroy let his clicker signal for silence in the room. The other juveniles were quiet as Cleroy watched the entirety of the spy video without stopping. He even forgot to let the hydration mucus flow from the fluid sacs so that his shell wouldn't dry out and crack until the very end. He quickly collected himself, remembering to release more mucus, and he skittered out of the room, ignoring the juveniles' questions. He didn't even remember to take the data slate, which outlined the old the video feed was. Cleroy rushed into his office, locking the entrance behind him before knocking the data slates off of his desk. He keyed into the console with haste and the input to the species code of that ugly little thing that B-Robbo had been hunting. His eyes began to scan over the documents that were only available to the Galactic Secret Service. Majority of species seemed to be suitable for integration under the galactic government. Possible warlike subspecies has known aptitude for universal naval war. Note, original contact plan for species requested help from Trexian invasion backfired. Trexex now extinct after prolonged naval bombardments of home systems through unconventional means. Species spared retribution genocide after agents discovered a clear lack of knowledge of Trexex customs and logistics. Species presumed threat to be far greater than true. Lack of intelligence gathering on part of the Secret Service regarding species reaction to Trexex invasion is the greatest factor in possible Trexex extinction. After being alerted to greater galactic presence, species has been mostly peaceful. Subspecies continue border skirmishes to be expected as codes of uniformity begin to eliminate extreme populations. Naval forces indicate likelihood of poor ground combat ability. Species has access to very low-tech energy weapons. Ships of barbaric design aside from a single unknown innovation known as a skip drive. That has been flagged by Central Intelligence as a forbidden tech. Overall threat level, low. Cleroy blinked as he looked at the last line. Overall threat level, low. Overall threat level, low. His forelimbs clicked on the console hastily. Central Intelligence had theorized no observation of a species in ground combat is requested, and considering naval focus, no close combat studies of the species have been conducted. Cleroy's mucus turned pale green as he realized the grave mistake that they've made. Quickly, he activated his communicator. He tapped it into the feed with B-Robb's cast. This is Cast Leader Cleroy. Inform the Cast Leader that we found him, and I have every intention of assisting his cast in tracking and killing this target. The juvenile underlying clicked in confusion. Who do you refer to, Cast Leader? Cleroy stared at the information in front of him. We must stop. Billy Bob, Space Trucker. Billy Bob had his arms crossed as he looked down at the Space Goblin Doctor who was glaring up at him. After curb-stomping that fricking space clown, he'd freed up the prisoners and tried to get things on the station back to normal. After gluing his wound shut, of course. Look, I still maintain that there is nothing wrong using some glue to close up a wound. It's madness. I don't care if everyone else is impressed with how well it works. You risk toxic contamination and worst. Just drink biogel. Billy Bob eyed the purple space cough syrup that had been brought in the big picture. Don't wanna. Are you an infant? It'll make you better. They stopped at the door of the medical room opened up as Emily limped in. Hello, Billy Bob. Hello, Dr. Goldsmith. How's the patient, Doctor? His name is Dr. Goldsmith, Billy Bob said incredulously. The other two looked back at him. Yes, is there anything wrong? Billy Bob looked from Goldsmith to Emily and back. All sorts of thoughts flooded through his mind about the unlikely name some aliens had and wondered if his sound translator was broken. Or perhaps it was just breaking with him. Should he try and explain to them? No, he shouldn't. So he just shook his head. Nah, never mind, nothing. Dr. Goldsmith huffed out. I was trying to explain to the stubborn child that he needs to drink the biogel. I don't care if he can't ingest much liquid or not. The more he can manage to drink, the quicker he'll heal. Emily looked over at Billy Bob. Billy Bob, drink the biogel, but drink it. You need to. Glue won't stop your wounds from getting infected and you'll heal faster. The nanites will adapt to your physiology and speed you up your healing greatly. Look at my leg. She rolled up her leg with new pants to show him the gash that he'd seen earlier. Her downy feathered parting showed a long white scar, but it looked old, and certainly not fresh. Billy Bob sighed. Do I have to? Yes, drink it, she ordered. Billy Bob groaned as he picked up the pitcher. Then, before Emily and Dr. Goldsmith could stop him to point out to the small cup that they provided and began to drink the pitcher straight. They stared in shock as he gulped and gulped and gulped. He didn't stop until the pitcher was completely empty, and he slammed it down back onto the table with a loud belch. Why does medicine always gotta taste like space grape? Nothing's different, I swear. That was a whole liter. How did you manage to drink all of that? What? I just, drank. I don't know. Hey, if I need to get it out of the way, I will. Give me a few more liters and I'll finish them before tonight. The space goblin was dumbfounded. How are you so dense? Hey, that's not very nice. I didn't think what I said was so stupid. Not dense. Dense. I don't know. Oh, wait. You mean like thick. I mean, my belly isn't that big. He shook his beer gut, which was a bit smaller with all the activity that he'd been doing lately. No, you literal density. I need to study you. Billy Bob had stopped listening, though, as he felt the body start to feel a little warm. And then he began to feel good. Not just good, but great. Whoa, this stuff is starting to kick in. Whoa. He began to move around in place and then started to wiggle a little. He felt like he had tons of energy. His body felt better than ever. His wounds began to close up, and an incredible dense body made the work of the nanites much easier. He was full of biological materials that could move around without damaging the rest of him. He started to move a bit, and then suddenly shouted, "Thriller!" and then started to dance. Emily and the doctor backed up, unsure what was going on. Is this normal, Doctor? She asked. I have no idea. Biogel is supposed to adapt to the host. Once they run out safe levels of the materials that they use, they self-terminate. Harmlessly. He might be so dense that they're running in overdrive. I have no idea what they'll do. Whoa! Billy Bob stopped dancing and laughed. Rushing past them, he ran out into the medical bay at the station. We'd better follow him, Emily said, as the doctor nodded, and they rushed out after the hyped-up space trucker, who was rushing into the black market now that it was once more teeming with life. The other species had a grasp and dash out of his way as he moved, but they recognized him as their savior, so no one seemed to mind. He didn't know what he wanted to do, but he felt so good, and he had so much energy. Then he stopped in front of some sort of market with a cook making something. He then leaned up over the glass, and his eyes widened. That's beef. Inside, the space goblins wearing a headset appeared to be the cook. Oh, you're a human. Yes, we just recently imposed some meat from your planet. You're wonderful omnivores. Simply wonderful. I believe this is what you call a beef, yes. But you're the one who saved us. Let me get something special. The space goblin tapped on the control panel, and Billy Bob watched as the robotic arms retreated into the ceiling. Then he gasped as they descended once more, this time carrying something else. That? No. Is it? It's what your species is referred to as Kobe beef. Billy Bob's eyes went even wider. First, I'm going to cut it into small snakes, rub it a bit with what you call herbs and spices onto it, but nothing with capsaicin. Sheer madness amongst your species. Billy Bob began to drool a little as he watched. We have some of what you call butter, which we're going to rub on top of it as well. Billy Bob was firmly pressed against the glass, and then boil it in this big pot of water until it is nice and well done. No! Billy Bob screamed out as he pulled his head back, slamming it against the glass. The creatures around him cried in fear as Billy Bob smashed the glass with his face. He hopped inside of the now open shop and snatched the Kobe beef from the cook's hand. That is not how you do it. He looked around and grabbed a pan, dumped some butter in it, and quickly cranked up the burner. It seemed like the Xenos were better at making cooktops because that pop was glowing soon as he tossed it on. Then the butter was sizzling and popping. He seared the steak just 20 seconds aside before turning the burner off and dumping the steak on a plate. That's how it's done. The cook cowered before him, but it's still raw at the center. Billy Bob's eyes gleamed then. Exactly. He felt so good he didn't even mind that his fingers burned a little as he picked up the steak and firmly bit it apart. The taste, oh sweet baby Jesus, the taste! He shivered and twitched a little as he chewed and then swallowed. Turning, he saw the stunned crowd outside. Dr. Goldsmith was gasping, and Emily, who had her face pressed firmly into her palm. Billy Bob just waved. Emily, they've got steak! And so ends another chapter in the adventures of Billy Bob, Space Trucker. I hope that you enjoyed. If you'd like to support the channel or the author, all the stuff is down below. And as always, I hope that you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the next story. Cheers.